أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي رب زدني علما. Today we are going to start with verse number 57 of Surah Al-Anaam, that is the cattle, which is the 6th surah of the Quran. قُلْ إِنِّي عَلَى بَيِّنَةٍ مِّن رَبِّي وَكَذَّبْتُمْ بِهِ ما عندي ما تستعجلون به إن الحكم إلا لله يقص الحق وهو خير الفاصلين. Tell them, I stand firm over the clear sign from my Lord while you have denied it. I do not have power over what you want to hasten. No one has power over it except God. He states the truth and He is the best of judges. So I stand firm here by this, several prophets in the Quran are reported to have said that when they were faced by the people's denial, they asserted their own firmness and clarity and stand about the truth of the message. Even though the idolaters denied the resurrection and divine punishment, yet they kept asking the Prophet. They said, Mata hazal wa'du in kuntum sadiqeen, which means, when will your promise be fulfilled if you are truthful? And they did not realize that if the last day occurred, that would be the end of all hope and of everything else. It would be the end of just everything. So it was very foolish of them to make this demand. The Prophet also asserts that he has neither knowledge nor power over what they are demanding. He says, I do not have power over what you want to hasten, and no one has power over it except God. These are a few of the things, continuing from the last verse 56, in which the Prophet is asked to tell them certain things, and it starts with say, Allah anna indi ma tastajiluna bihi laqudiyal amru baini wa bainakum wallahu alamu bizzalimin. Say, if I had power over what you are pressing for, that is, the occurrence of the last day, the day of resurrection, all disputes between you and me would have been decided. God is well aware of the transgressors. Every prophet's nation it happened that the unbelievers ridiculed the concept of the day of judgment and kept demanding of the prophet to bring on the day if he was truthful. The reply given to them is that once it sets in, there will be no respite and the retribution will be their fate. وَعِنْدَهُ مَفَاتِحُ الْغَيْبِ لَا يَعْلَمُهَا إِلَّا هُوَ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَمَا تَسْقُطُ مِنْ وَرَقَةٍ إِلَّا يَعْلَمُهَا وَلَا حَبَّةٍ فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْأَرْضِ وَلَا رَطْبٍ وَلَا يَابِسٍ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. He has the keys to the unknown. No one knows them except for him. He knows whatever is in the land and the sea. Not a leaf falls, but he knows it, and neither is there a seed in the darkness of the earth, nor a fresh or a dry thing, but it is present in the clear book. He has the keys to the unknown is the ghaib. Sometimes it is also called the unseen. But ghaib is something which cannot be accessed by our five senses. So whether you call it unseen or unknown, it all means the same thing. So God knows everything about every little thing in the land as well as the sea. And can you imagine, no one can count the number of leaves in a tree, in just one tree. And can you imagine how many millions or billions of trees there are, maybe trillions or maybe more, there are in the whole world. And not a leaf falls, but He knows it. He knows where and when a leaf has fallen. And neither is there a seed in the darkness of the earth, nor a fresh or a dry thing, but is present in the clear book. What is the clear book? It is the Kitabun Mubin. This is the preserved tablet, or the Allah al-Mahfuz. And all the divine books are also preserved here, and they are brought by Jibreel to the concerned prophet. So all the books that have been revealed, some we know about and some we don't know about, they were all preserved in the Law al-Mahfuz, and gradually they were brought to their concerned prophet. This is why in one place it is mentioned that we gave Isa the book and the Torah and the Injil. So all the Torah and the Injil came from the book, which is the Kitab-e-Mubin, or the preserved tablet, or the Law al-Mahfuz. This is somewhere in the seventh heaven. It is preserved, and all the knowledge, all the decrees of God are mentioned in it, are saved in it. So nothing that is present in the land or the sea is hidden from God. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا جَهْرَتُمْ وَبِالنَّهَارِ ثُمَّ يَبْعَثُكُمْ فِيهِ لِيُقْضَىٰ أَجَلٌ مُّسَمًّى ثُمَّ إِلَيْهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ ثُمَّ يُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. He is the one who takes up your souls at night and knows what you earn during the day, then raises you from it, that is, raises you from sleep, so as to complete the time fixed for you to live. To him is your return, when he will let you know what you used to do. And this is also a warning to human beings that nothing they do, all their deeds are known to God, nothing is hidden from him. So God is the one who takes up your souls at night. Now, how many souls do we have? If the soul is taken from us, then how are we alive? We are told that the soul is the thing which keeps us alive, and once the soul is taken away, then that person cannot live anymore. Some people even explain that there are two souls, but that's a very far-fetched theory anyway. What I understand is, during sleep, the soul is taken away to a certain extent, but it remains connected to the body as if by a thread or some such thing. And when the person is in deep sleep, his soul is taken away from the body but remains connected. And the moment there is a sound which disturbs us or somebody touches you, then you suddenly wake up and that soul rushes back into the body and you are as good as alive. Because they say that, when you are asleep, the body functions or does not function just as if we were dead. So in some languages they say that, the person who's asleep is like a person who is dead. So he is the one who takes up your souls at night, because all the physical as well as mental activities is suspended. But when this is read in conjunction with the next verse, then you realize that it becomes obvious that here sleep is meant and not death. Some people have tried to explain that this is also about death, but it's not so. It is about sleep. So he takes up your souls at night and knows what you earn during the day, then raises you from it. From what? From sleep. So as to complete the time fixed for you to live, because it has already been ordained how long each person is going to live. So when we wake up in the morning, or whatever time we wake up, that is the time that we should be grateful that we are still alive and that we have been allowed to complete the time fixed for our lives. Because there are many people who have died in their sleep. Maybe it's a very peaceful way of dying. They did not suffer. They just passed away in their sleep. But if you wake up, then you are still alive and you should be grateful for it. وَهُوَ الْقَاهِرُ فَوْقَ عِبَادِهِ وَيُرْسِلُ عَلَيْكُمْ حَفَظًا حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَكُمْ الْمَوْتُ تَوَفَّتْهُ رُسُلُنَا وَهُمْ لَا يُفَرِّطُونَ. He is dominant over his creatures and sends caretakers over you until when the time comes for the death of one of you, the angels sent by us take away his soul, and they do not make mistakes. So who are these caretakers? According to some commentators, they are the Kiraman Katibin, which are supposed to be the two angels sitting on our two shoulders, who accompany us, accompany each person or soul throughout life on this earth, and they keep recording. Katibin is because they are writing, they are katibs. They keep recording all the good and the bad deeds that we have committed. Now we have also been told that the angel on the right records the good deeds and the angel on the left records the bad deeds. So that human beings might avoid evil acts. If we are conscious that sometimes, you say, okay, nobody's watching me, so I can do such and such a thing. But if one is aware, that somebody is watching you all the time, then you will avoid all these evil acts that one might be tempted to do. Now, the analogous relationship between sleep and death, there is, is similar to waking and resurrection. Sleep is like death, and waking is like resurrection. And this analogy has also been used in Surah Al-Kahf, which is Surah number 18 of the Quran, in which the young men, in order to save their faith, because their ruler was forcing them to do shirk, so they ran away and they hid in a cave, and it is supposed to be cave, now they say it is supposed to be in Turkey, in Ephesus. There's a place called Ephesus. So there is also an argument for resurrection based on the worldly experience on a daily basis. If waking consciousness withheld in sleep and then returned on waking up, God can also withhold it permanently through death. So if we realize, some people are not believers in resurrection. So this example is given that if our consciousness and every action, everything that we can do when awake is sort of held up, is withheld temporarily in sleep, it can also be withheld permanently through death and then wake up through resurrection in the next life. And if you read Surah Zumar, you will find some of this mentioned in it. That is Surah number 39 of the Quran. So according to the Quran, everything created has an appointed term fixed for it in this world, according to the measuring out done with God's estimate. Also, alternation between God's giving, that is also known as bast, and withholding, known as qabd, of physical and spiritual provision. In the hereafter, or for a mystical seeker, one who is spiritually inclined, in this life, in the state of union with God, which entails going beyond many spiritual stations, and both states are transcended. This is stated by Ibn Ajiba, one of the great classical commentators of the Quran. And it is also said here, when the time comes of the death of one of them, the angels sent by us take away his soul, and they do not make mistakes. And they will not make a mistake in really taking away the soul completely. But sometimes it has happened that a person seems to be dead, even to the doctors, and then in a little while, that soul is sent back to the body and it is revived. And I know somebody, a relative, who said that she was in hospital and she was declared to be dead, and the doctor even wrote out her death certificate. And she was just sort of like in a trance, and she heard somebody say, "No, it's not this Salma." So her name was Salma, and then suddenly, she sort of woke up, and then the doctors were also surprised. They didn't know what had happened, and this person was still alive. Summa ruddu ilallahi mawlahumul haq, ala lahul hukmu wa huwa asra'ul hasibin. Then they will be returned to God, their true Lord. His is the command, and He is quick in taking account. So this is something quite obvious. قُلْ مَنْ يُنَجِّيكُمْ مِنَ ظُلُمَاتِ الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ تَدْعُونَهُ تَضَرُّعًا وَخُفْيَةً لَإِنْ أَنْجَانَا مِنْ هَٰذِهِ لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. Say, who saves you from the darkness of the land and the sea? The one you call out to, pleading humbly and secretly. If I am saved from this, I will indeed become of the grateful. So this example is repeated many times in the Quran, that when people are about to drown in the sea, and if they're somewhere far away from the land and there is no hope of their being saved, then they start pleading to God. And it is also said in the Quran that when these people see that they have been saved, the storm is over, or they see land or something like that, if they think that now they're going to be saved, then again they go back to their original beliefs and deeds. Some commentators think that this sentence could also mean the ups and downs of life, besides, the actual being faced by a great affliction or pain or illness or whatever trouble that one is coming to. But it could also mean the ups and downs of life which make a person anxious, or inward and outward fear and sadness is experienced. the one you call out to, pleading humbly and secretly. So at that time, when there is no other hope, then every person becomes humble and he starts believing in God, and he also starts praying to Him. And this I have noticed, some people I know, they just declare that they don't believe in anything, but if they're faced by something really difficult that they care about, then they call out. Maybe, I don't know if they call out to God or not, but they do call out to me. They say, please pray for us. So this is something that is very true, and it happens. If I'm saved from this, I will indeed become of the grateful. This is what they say, that if God saves me, then I will start believing. But this was said by a lot of people to their prophets, that all right, if you can do away with this problem that we have, if you can ask God to help us with this problem, then we'll start believing you. Like the people of Iran would come to Musa, all the pestilence and all the trouble that they had faced. For each one of them, they would come to Prophet Musa and ask him to pray to his God. They didn't say pray to our God, they said pray to your God, pray to your Lord. And we will start believing in you if we are relieved of this suffering. But once that suffering was over, they turned back to their old ways. Now some commentators think that every time anybody goes through any kind of experiences some kind of a danger or distress or some affliction, he gets some kind of spiritual benefit from it, because that person starts praying with a lot of sincerity, and you start feeling close to God when you are suffering. قُلِ اللَّهُ يُنَجِّيكُم مِّنْهَا وَمِن كُلِّ كَرْبٍ ثُمَّ أَنْتُمْ تُشْرِكُونَ. Say, God saves you from this and from every affliction, yet you ascribe partners to God. So whatever suffering there is, no one can save you except God. قُلْ هُوَ الْقَادِرُ عَلَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابًا مِّن فَوْقِكُمْ أَوْ مِن تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِكُمْ أَوْ يَلْبِسَكُمْ شِيَعًا وَيُذِيقَ بَعْضَكُمْ بَأْسَ بَعْضٍ انظُرْ كَيْفَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَفْقَهُونَ. Say, God has the power to send punishment from above you and from under your feet, or to confuse you by your splitting into groups, so that some of you may taste the cruelty of the others. The punishment from above can be, like for example in the time of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam, that is Noah, they had this rain, very heavy rain, and also there was water coming out of the earth, and this was like a punishment for those people who refused to believe in their prophet. Then from above can be like the case of the people of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam, that is Lot. His people were punished, his nation were punished by a rain of stones, and sometimes it is interpreted as big bricks made out of baked clay with which they were struck. And under your feet can mean an earthquake or something else happening on the earth, and sometimes we read about the earth splitting open and the people who were on it are swallowed by the earth, and that happened to Qarun. He was a Bani Israeli, but he was a traitor to his own nation, and he was siding with Pharaoh and his people, and he was giving away all their secrets. So that's why, and he collected a lot of wealth by doing this, but in the end, he was swallowed by the earth. And also by the sea is also from below, the azab that comes from below you. The calamities that come are punishments of God, from God. Calamity, affliction, whatever you want to call it. These are afflictions from God, because God has power over everything. So we can't say that this calamity was because of the, storm. How did the storm come? So God knows everything. We just read that even a little leaf that falls, God knows about it. And He can also control whatever is happening. This thing about the punishment from above and from below, Hazrat Ibn Abbas has said that coming from above can also mean cruel rulers. Sometimes the rulers are extremely cruel and they are doing everything for their own benefit and not for the good of the people. And from below can also mean the lowly and corrupt workers in that place. Another kind of punishment or calamity or whatever you want to call it, as a splitting into groups. That means that if a nation is united, it can become really strong. But if it splits into groups, then it has weakened itself. So splitting into groups is something to be avoided. And here there is a warning that this is a punishment, and it was also given to the Christians because they also split into sects. And Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our Prophet, was perturbed by this verse 65, and he prayed, he requested through Jibreel alayhi salam that God spare his community such punishments. And Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam, that is Gabriel, returned and he said, God would spare punishment from above and below, but not splitting into groups. That means this is not going to be spared. If they want to split into groups, they'd be allowed to split into groups. And we had mentioned earlier on that a lot of splitting into groups based on faith is because of different interpretations of the Quran. Because some people want something to be like this, so they are able to find some meaning which is devious or which suits their purpose. So then after Hazrat Jibreel alayhi salam returned and said that this punishment will not be removed from them, then the Prophet ﷺ said, my community will divide into 72 sects and only one of which will be saved. So you see, this is a very scary kind of a statement, that there are going to be 72 sects and only one of them will be saved. So we should also pray that we belong to that sect which God is going to save on the day of resurrection. According to Al-Tabari, this verse should be read as prohibiting debates and disagreements concerning religious teachings. That is, if you get into disagreements and you start debating about different things in the Quran, then there is a possibility that you will split into groups. And some scholars think that, or there is maybe a consensus about this fact, that debating and religious disagreements are acceptable as long as the basic principles of Islam are not touched. Basic principles, of course, are belief in the one God and in His Prophet of the time and all the prophets that He told us about, and in the books and the angels and the resurrection and heaven and hell. These are the basic things that we have been told about by the prophets. Let's read the 65 Arabic again. قُلْ هُوَ الْقَادِرُ عَلَىٰ أَنْ يَبْعَثَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابًا مِّنْ فَوْقِكُمْ أَوْ مِنْ تَحْتِ أَرْجُلِكُمْ أَوْ يَلْبِسَكُمْ شِيَعًا وَيُذِيقَ بَعْضَكُمْ بَأْسَ بَعْضٍ انظُرْ كَيْفَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَفْقَهُونَ. So all this we have already discussed, but انظُرْ كَيْفَ نُصَرِّفُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَفْقَهُونَ. That is, see how we explain in different ways the signs so that you would understand. So nusarrifu means in different ways, again and again. If you repeat something again and again and explain it in different ways, that is nusarrif. Move them about, that is in different ways. So this is the style of the Quran, that so many things are repeated in different ways so that people would try to understand. وَكَذَّبَ بِهِ قَوْمُكَ وَهُوَ الْحَقُّ قُلْ لَسْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ بِوَكِيلٍ. And your nation rejected it, even though it is the truth. Tell them, I have not been appointed a keeper over you. So your nation rejected it. Now this is, of course, talking to the people of Makkah. So the Makkans had rejected this faith, this system of belief, and tell them, I have not been appointed a keeper over you, because the Prophet is not supposed to force them or see to it that they all believe. He is just supposed to convey the message. So many times the Prophet used to be upset by the attitude of the Makkans who did not want to believe, and he would pray for them and cry for them in the middle of the night. And then he was consoled and told that all he had to do was to convey the message. And he's not their guardian who watches over them, and he's not supposed to force them either. And this, of course, every time the Prophet is told to just convey the message, It brings this thing very clearly to our minds that the cliche which goes around in the Western world is that Islam was spread by the sword. Now, if Islam was spread by the sword, then they would have tried to fight these people, but they didn't, especially in Makkah, while in the Prophet stayed in Makkah. لِكُلِّ نَبَائٍ مُسْتَقَرٌ وَسَوْفَ تَعْلَمُونَ. For every announcement, a time is fixed. You will soon learn. Here the Arabic word is naba. Naba means news. So a message sent through prophets is an announcement. A time is fixed. That is, God decides which prophet is going to be sent when. And after the time or reprieve is over, the warning will materialize. They kept saying, when will the, punishment come? When will the last day come if you are truthful? And they are being told that after your reprieve is over, the time limit that you have been given to come to faith is over, then the warning will materialize. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَى مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. When you see people engage in vulgar arguments against our revelations, turn away from them until they engage in some other matter. And if shaitan makes you forget, do not sit once you remember with those who transgress. That is, one is not supposed to take up, an argument with people anywhere and all the time, with people who are talking against their faith, against their revelations. So a revelation, the Arabic word here is fi ayatina, against our ayats, our signs. And the signs of God include, of course, the verses of the Quran. And the signs of God include all the prophets and their miracles, and the signs of God's greatness and harmony found in nature. And those phenomena in nature which are blessings for His creatures, such as rain, are all ayahs or signs of God's oneness and His greatness. And the believers are supposed to avoid the company of those who ridicule the signs of God for several reasons. The first reason is that anyone listening silently is subscribing to the saying, silence is consent. If you remain silent, it means you are consenting with them. If he does not remain silent, then he will be picking a quarrel, which is to be avoided. And if the faith of the believer is weak, he is likely to be influenced. If he says anything against their gods, they might say something against God. Such an exchange should be avoided. This is also stated in verse number 108 of the same Surah Al-Anaam. So when you see people engage in vulgar arguments, then it includes vain, useless, arguments which can lead to misinterpretation of serious matters such as laws and accusations and lead to divisions in the community. And this is to be avoided within the community as well as outside of it. This is about people who are sitting there and discussing things which go against your faith. This is one of the statements that is made against people who are blaspheming about your faith. Or maybe somebody is trying to involve you in an argument. Sometimes people do that. They say things in order to make you make you quarrel with them or argue with them. But that has to be avoided. وَمَا عَلَى الَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ مِنْ حِسَابِهِمْ مِنْ شَيْءٍ وَلَكِنْ ذِكْرَى لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَّقُونَ. There is no responsibility on the pious, that is the muttaqi, on account of them at all, except to explain perchance they might become God-fearing. So, the duty of the believers is to let them know of their displeasure. Even if you get up and go away somewhere, then that also means that you are not pleased with what they are saying, but you are doing it in a peaceful manner. Or, another thing you can do is to remind them. Reminding people in this life is necessary, as there will be no chance to repent or atone for sins in the hereafter. So one has to keep reminding gently, and maybe they will benefit from it. فَذَرِ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا دِينَهُمْ لَعِبًا وَلَهْوًا وَغَرَّتْهُمُ الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَالذِّكْرَى بِهِ أَن تُبْصَلَ نَفْسٌ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ Leave alone those who have turned their faith into sport and entertainment. They have been deceived by the life of this world. Expound to them the Quran so that none is destroyed because of his deeds. The company of such people has to be avoided, those who have turned their religion into a play and entertainment or a diversion by introducing certain things which were never taught by their prophet. And also by those who are non-serious about their religion, they will also try to get you involved in some kind of discussion or argument. And those who indulge in idolatry, discussions with them also has to be avoided. Those who make judgments about religious matters based on their own desires, and then make religious festivals ordained by God as mere play and diversion. They change these different rituals. And those who actually exploit religion and gain material wealth and power of position, there have been a lot of leaders who kept saying that I belong to this religion, and they kept exploiting the religion in order to become more and more powerful. So all these people have to be sort of avoided, yes, unless of course there is a call for jihad or something like that. لَيْسَ لَهَا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيٌّ وَلَا شَفِيعٌ وَإِن تَعْدِلْ كُلَّ عَدْلٍ لَا يُؤْخَذْ مِنْهَا. Expound to them, there is no friend or intercessor for them except God. Even if they give ransom, it will not be accepted from them. So all these people who are doing these things, they will not be forgiven. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ أُبْلِسُوا بِمَا كَسَبُوا لَهُمْ شَرَابٌ مِّنْ حَمِيمٍ وَعَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْفُرُونَ. These are the people who have been destroyed because of their deeds. For them will be boiling water to drink and a painful punishment for their denial. Sharab in Arabic does not mean an alcoholic drink, it means something to drink. So there will be no friend or intercessor for them except God. On the last day, no one will be able to help another. Even a strong young son will not be able to help his parents to carry the weight of their sins. And no one in the family, no friend, no one will be able to help each other. And even if they wanted to give a ransom and they say, I have so much wealth in the world, I can give this, but that will be of no use to them, of course. So they are the people who have been destroyed because of their deeds. And of course then the punishment is described here, boiling water to drink, and a painful punishment for their denial. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ أُبْسِلُوا. Absal means to give up oneself to destruction. This definition is given by Allama Qurtubi. Also it is said here that reminding people in this world is necessary because there will be no chance to repent or atone for sins in the next, and also keep reminding gently. Maybe they will benefit from it. So you're not supposed to take up arms against them, not to have a fist fight, but to remind them gently. قُلْ أَنَدْعُو مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَنْفَعُنَا وَلَا يَضُرُّنَا وَنُرَدُّ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِنَا بَعْدَ إِذْ هَدَانَا اللَّهُ كَالَّذِي اسْتَهْوَتْهُ الشَّيْطَانُ فِي الْأَرْضِ حَيْرَانٌ لَهُ أَصْحَابٌ يَدْعُونَهُ إِلَى الْهُدَى ائْتِنَا قُلْ إِنَّ هُدَى اللَّهِ هُوَ الْهُدَى وَأُمِرْنَا لِنُسْلِمَ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, should we worship instead of God one who can neither be of help to us nor harm us? So you see, most of these paragraphs in this surah that we have been reading for some time begin with Qul. Qul, tell them. Say, should we worship instead? So these are the arguments given to the Prophet. Should we worship instead of God one who can neither be of help to us nor harm us? And should we turn back on our feet after God has guided us? Like the person who is confused, being possessed by the devils on earth. His companions will call him towards guidance, saying, come to us. Say, guidance in fact is the guidance of God. We have been asked to become obedient to the Lord of the worlds. So guidance in fact is the guidance of God. What does this mean? It means that nobody else can come up with their own ideas and say what I am saying is the right guidance. And people have done this. They have come up with, a new faith or a new sect and which has no basis, which has no foundation, which has no connection to that revealed by God or His prophets. Real guidance is that guidance which has been revealed by God. And we have been asked to become obedient to the Lord of the worlds. Obedient, the word in Arabic here is وَأُمِرْنَا لِنُسْلِمَ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Muslim, that is the same root as Islam, and it means, Islam also means obedience. وَأَنْ أَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّقُوهُ وَهُوَ الَّذِي إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. And that we should establish prayer and fear Him. He is the one to whom we will be gathered. Now the things that we have been asked to do, which are being mentioned here, is the one in verse number 71, we have been asked to become obedient to the Lord of the worlds. When we become obedient, that means our heart believes what we have been told, because the faith resides in the heart. No one can pretend to be a Muslim. Of course, people can pretend, but then they are hypocrites. No one can say, all right, you're asking me to become a Muslim, so I'll become a Muslim, but then that will not be real faith, because the faith resides in the heart. It has to be sincere and true. So the first thing was this, to become obedient to God, that is, to believe in Islam, and that we should establish prayer. This is a physical manifestation of faith, and prayer meaning, like the word prayer in English does not do justice to the meanings in Arabic. Prayer is used for when you're asking God for something, that is a supplication, that is a dua. And also it is used for the ritual, obligatory prayer that we are saying. It is also used for the voluntary prayers that we are saying. So here of course it means mainly the obligatory prayer, the 5 times obligatory prayer. We should establish prayer and fear Him. Fearing Him is of course taqwa, to become pious, to become conscious of God. These are all the different meanings that have been given to the word taqwa or muttaqi. And when one fears God, that means one has become conscious of God, aware of God, then one will try to avoid sin. And He is the one to whom you will be gathered. So these 3 things have been mentioned here, one after the other. You will also notice as we go along, we will come across this again and again, that when salat or the ritual prayer is mentioned, it never says, say your prayers. It says, aqimu salata. That means establish prayer. And establishing prayer means to say it regularly, to say it at the right time, to say it when facing the right direction as far as possible, and to say it when you are clean and pure, and also when the place where you are saying this prayer is also dry and clean. All these are the basic things that are needed to establish prayer. When you establish prayer, you can't say, okay, I'm feeling too tired, I can say my prayers tomorrow. No. Even if you miss it, then the first chance that we get, we should complete the prayer that we have missed. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ وَيَوْمَ يَقُولُ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ قَوْلُهُ الْحَقُّ وَلَهُ الْمُلْكُ يَوْمَ يَنْفُخُ فِي الصُّورِ عَالِمُ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ وَالْحَكِيمُ الْخَبِيرُ. He is the one who created the heavens and the earth, samawati wal ard, with a plan and a purpose. Here it says bil haqqi. So what is the meaning of haqq? We often translate the word haqq as being the truth. It can also mean haqq is something that is there when it is needed, and it is there in the form when it is needed. So that, and also here it has been translated with a plan and a purpose. The heavens and the earth have been created with haqq, with the truth, that means with a plan and a purpose. They have not been created without a purpose. The day He says be, it will become. So everything created in this world has been created by God's command of be, to become. Kun fayakun, that means when He says come on, happen, or be, then that thing happens at once. He does not have to sit down and draw a plan of what He's going to make. He does not have to consult, whether there were other things created like this before and how we can improve in it. One of His names is Badi, and Badi means the originator who does not need a plan or early example. He just creates something when He wants to. So His word is the truth. His will be the sovereignty the day the trumpet is blown. So what is the meaning of the trumpet is blown? We know that on the day of judgment, the angel Israfil will blow the trumpet once, and this will announce the onset of the day of judgment and the end of this world. And everything will come to a standstill. Everything will just stay where it is. When the trumpet is blown a second time, everyone and everything will die. And then a long time will pass when everything will be dead. And when the trumpet is blown a third time, and we don't know, but it is said that maybe after 40 years or 40 spans of time later, the dead will be raised to be presented before their Lord. And this will be the resurrection. Now, according to some commentators, the resurrection is also a sign of the creativity of God, because even the resurrection will come about just by the command to be, and it will happen. Then it is also said that with a plan and a purpose, He has created everything with a plan and a purpose, means that He has created what is good, and also it is for the good of the people.
وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ آزَرَ أَتَتَّخِذُ أَصْنَامًا آلِهَةً إِنِّي أَرَاكَ قَوْمَكَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ.
Ibrahim said to his father Azar, "Do you take idols to be your gods? I see that you and your nation are clearly lost." Now there is some discussion about this word Azar, the name of Hazrat Ibrahim a.s.'s father. And some say that Azar was an idol worshipper, and there was nobody who was a mushrik or an idol worshipper in the line of the forefathers of the Prophet ﷺ. And there is also a hadith in which he has said this. So this word in the Bible, Azar has also been called Terah, and some early Muslim genealogists have called him Tariq, like Tariq, and this name is Tariq. So whatever the name, some people say that in those days people used to call their uncles fathers if those uncles had brought them up, and this is a possibility. So since here it is said that Ibrahim asked his father, "Do you take idols to be your gods?" He was an idol worshipper, so he could not have been his real father, but maybe an uncle who brought him up and who he called his father.
وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلَيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ.
This is how we showed Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, so that he might become of those with firm belief. Kingdom of the heaven and the earth has been described as the fact that when Ibrahim rejected his people's and his father's idolatry, he reached a higher intellectual and spiritual level. And it is said that God split open the heavens, allowing Hazrat Ibrahim a.s. or Abraham to all the levels up to the divine throne, and split open the earth, enabled him to see right down to the lowest level. And this is made possible for the most eminent prophets such as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was always averse to idolatry, and we have also read that even as a child in a city, he was born in the city of Ur, which is now in Iraq, and even as a child he never worshipped an idol when the whole community was busy worshipping idols. And he was always averse to idolatry, and this was strengthened through special insight, the special insight that was provided to him by God. You remember he said, "I want to see how you're going to resurrect people on the day of resurrection," and then he was asked to put those 4 birds on the hills. So all that was because God provided him with an extra insight. And they also say that the Venus, the sun and the moon were 3 of the 7 celestial bodies that were being worshipped by his people. The people included astrologers. And also Al-Razi said that one must observe the created order in order to find clear proofs for faith.
وَكَذَلِكَ نُرِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ مَلَكُوتَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلَيَكُونَ مِنَ الْمُوقِنِينَ.
This is how we showed Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, so that he might become of those with firm belief.
فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي فلما أفل قال لا أحب الآفلين.
When the night covered them, he saw a star and said, "Is this my Lord?" But when it set, he said, "I do not like those who go down." Now this also has come under discussion. Various commentators think that Hazrat Ibrahim Al-Salam passed through a phase of doubt in which he wasn't sure as to, what his people were worshipping was the true God or not. But I don't think this is true. What he was saying was, Qala haza Rabbi. Like he said, "Is this my Lord?" Like he said it doubtingly. He did not say it as if he believed in it, even for a short while.
فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين.
Then when he saw the moon shining, he said, "Is this my Lord?" But when it went down, he said, "If my Lord had not guided me, I would most certainly have become of the misguided people."
فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر فلما أفلت قال يا قوم إني بريء مما تشركون.
So when he saw the sun glowing, he said, "Is this my Lord? This is bigger." When the sun also went down, he said, "O my people, I disown all those whom you appoint as partners to God." So he said that, something that wanes, that becomes less or goes down is something that cannot be God.
إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين.
I've turned my face towards the one who has created the heavens and the earth with complete focus, and I do not appoint partners to him. So complete focus, the word in Arabic is Hanif, and Hanif is a title of Hazrat Ibrahim a.s. given to him by God, and it is mentioned several times in the Quran. One who is absolutely single-mindedly focused on something, and that he was focused on monotheism. I think we'll have to keep it up to here. Inshallah, we'll carry on from here next time. We can now do our little prayer. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanatan wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina azaban nar. Wa adkhilna al-jannata ma'al abrar ya azizu ya ghaffar ya rabbil alamin. Bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Ameen summa ameen. Thank you everybody for joining us. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, we'll see you again next time.